Hey, welcome to the next level. On April 23rd, 2019, I am leading a very special group of Neville Goddard students from all over the world on a 99-day in-depth exploration and expansion of the concepts so lovingly taught by Neville Goddard. Now, really, I've designed this 99-day experience for us all to build a habit and practice of mastery of our imagination, and we're doing it together. So I'm bringing together this group, this global Neville family, and together for 99 days, we're focusing on building the practice, the habit, and lifestyle of mastery of our imagination using these concepts taught by Neville Goddard. Now, one of the key points of value of this course is the live engagement. In this case, you're not going to just hear it from me. You're not just going to hear it from Neville. You're going to hear it from each other. It is a social learning experience. And so tonight, I wanted to share a sample of teaching from the Neville Goddard coaching group and share in particular a class that I taught called The Art of Imagination. Now, in this class called The Art of Imagination, we explore exactly what is the art of imagination. Now, to kind of help you get an idea of where we're picking up here, where the video is cut, I always start our live stream sessions together with a live guided meditation to help us clear the space, to help us enter into a place of deep connection and allow us to engage wisely, deeply, truthfully, authentically with the topics being presented. So I'm going to start this next video, The Art of Imagination, right at the end of that meditation, kind of let you pick up right where we left off and enjoy the art of imagination. Now, if you'd like to know more about our 99-day experience, there is a link below this video in the video description. Check it out, head over to the website, read through it, and if it's for you, I plan to see you on the other side. Till then, imagine wisely, my friends.
Cool. So, excellent place to start. Feeling warm, feeling expanded, feeling awakened, feeling open in a good way. Excellent place to start to engage with deeply important topics regarding our creative power, our imagination, our fundamental root cause of being, what we are before we are anything else. All right. So one more time, for those of you that maybe have just joined, there is a link to a Google document that if you are on a laptop or a computer, you should be able to hear me speak to you on this live stream and also be able to view this Google document. If you are on a phone, no worries. I will be reading the responses that come out of the Google Doc for you, and in future upgrades, I will have a way to show you my screen. We're just piloting an interactive style of learning tonight. An interactive style of exploration specifically, because I think that it's one thing for me to expand upon a topic using my ways of painting word pictures, and I think that that's part of the value here, but I also think that a big part of it is learning from each other's perspectives as well. As I was sharing last week, I've been taking college classes locally on campus, and I've really just appreciated so much the opportunity to engage with the topics that I've been studying, regardless of what they are, not just from a professor talking about it from personal experience or painting word pictures or kind of building a bridge to the content, but also from the shared perspectives of my fellow students. So I think that's a really big aspect of the value that we can get by exploring with each other. So we are going to be doing that together. We'll be feeding our spirits together tonight. You guys, awesome. Okay, so I see a couple people in the Google Doc. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about the art of imagination. The art of imagination. So anytime that we throw words against something, it's very important to understand what those words mean. And not just from external sources, not just Googling the word and saying, oh, what does the common denominator of humanity think this means, or what does the internet think this means? It's also important to use our own words and to figure out what how we would use our own words to describe what certain things mean. So in this case, I'm going to invite you all to type underneath what I just pasted in the Google document. I just pasted, what is imagination? Describe in your own words. I'm going to invite you to type it out in a sentence or less. And if each of you could just type on a line, and you should be able to see where each other's cursors are. So if you can each choose a line and type, that way we'll be able to see the various responses. Now, as that happens, and it's actually really fun watching you guys typing here, as that happens, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. Okay, so the art of imagination. So the art of anything, I feel, is an expansion of something, right? So it's one thing. There was a quote I heard the other day. It says, flair is what separates artistry from mere competence. And we'll be talking more about that in a little bit here. Okay, so what is imagination? Describe in your own words. So imagination is a desired state, a nation I image. Very good. Building a reality in your inner eye. A nation I image, or image a nation. Awesome. Creating a picture or thought based on past experience. Information. Based on past experiences or information. Yes. Imagination. Building a reality in your inner eye. Yes. Beautiful. Okay. Those are some interesting ways to say it. All right. So I'm going to add a couple of things to this. I'm going to add, it is an imaging faculty. Imaging faculty. Something that makes a picture. I'm going to say it's creative power. I'm going to say it's potentially, depending on how you look at it, your higher self. Your imagination from a perspective is your higher self. All right. And I'm also going to say, did we say the mind's eye? Yes. My dream world, a conscious mind, thoughts I can enter into in my subconscious. Your inner eye, your mind's eye. Yes. Beautiful. Okay. All right. So those are some of the ways that we describe imagination in our own words. I'm also going to put in the dictionary definition that comes from Googling this. So the dictionary definition is the faculty or action of forming new ideas or images or concepts of external objects not present to the senses. The faculty or action of forming new ideas, images, or concepts of objects not present to the senses. So that also speaks to the concept of the mind's eye. And then there's also another definition of it, a secondary definition of it, that says the ability of the mind to be creative or resourceful. So that's the dictionary definition. Yep. Beautiful. Okay. All right. So that defines the word imagination. So now perhaps a slightly trickier question, depending on how you look at it. What is art? Answer in the Google Doc. Describe in your own words. What is art? And for those of you that aren't in the Google Doc, just think to yourself, if you had to describe to someone, if there was someone that was brand new to planet Earth and you had to describe in very simple terms what art is, what would you say it is? Okay. Beautiful. All right. So some of the answers coming in. Expressions, feelings, emotions, thoughts, desires. Art can be expressions, feelings, emotions, thoughts, desires. Creating a physical representation of a thought using objects or mediums in the physical world. I love it. Expressions of feelings, emotions, thoughts, desires, dreams, and beauty. Art is expressing one's ideas. I love it, you guys. Now, it's interesting. On this Google Doc, I have no idea who is who. It says that I have an anonymous sheep, an anonymous hedgehog, and an anonymous armadillo. So I don't know who's saying what. It doesn't really matter in this case. I love all of your contributions here. Art is expressing one's ideas. Art is energy. Yes. All right. Art is energy. Art is creativity. Art is flawed perfection. Beautiful, you guys. Okay. Excellent. So I also am going to give you the dictionary definition of art. And that is that art is often considered to be the process or product of deliberately arranging elements in a way that appeals to the senses or the emotions. It encompasses a diverse range of human activities, creations, and ways of expression, including music, literature, film, sculpture, and paintings. The process or product of deliberately arranging elements in a way that appeals to the senses or emotions. That being the key, I think, of the dictionary definition. Okay. So, what is the art of imagination then? We're down onto page 2 here. So, describe the art of imagination. And I would love to see your interpretations. Those of you that have been responding on here, tie the two together, piece the two together, and tell me in your own words, what is the art of imagination given everything we've been talking about so far, all of these descriptions, all these ways of saying it? Go ahead and put together your concept of what is the art of imagination. Describe in your own words, and we're down on page 2 for those of you that are following along. Got some answers coming in here. Hmm. The art of imagination could be described as creating a thought or image based on our desires. The art of imagination is a science. It is a study of the beautiful workings of our wonderful imagination. A science, an act, creating a thought or image, utilizing tools, whatever they may be, to create scenes in your mind's eye and mastering the process, which equals manifestation. That's another answer for the art of imagination. It is the ability to create a world that lives up to our dreams. What an awesome way to say it. The ability to create a world that lives up to our dreams. The art of imagination. That is such a gorgeous way to say it. The ability to create a world that lives up to our dreams. Another answer is the imagination is the art of imagination is creating a thought or image based on our desires. The imagination is created with purpose and feeling. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I am going to tie together the dictionary definitions and come up with a combined definition. I love the way that you guys are saying it as well. And I also want to offer this approach too. So going back up to the dictionary definition of art and the dictionary definition of imagination. So the dictionary definition of art says art is considered the process or product of deliberately arranging elements in a way that appeals to the senses or emotions. And I'm going to say that the art of imagination is the process of deliberately arranging. And then I'm going to grab from the definition of imagination. The definition of imagination says the faculty or action of forming new ideas. So I'm going to say that it's the process of deliberately arranging new ideas, newly formed ideas, images, or concepts of external objects not present to the senses, which that's pulling it straight from the definition of imagination. And then I'm going to say with creativity and resourcefulness in a way that appeals to the senses or emotions. The art of imagination is the process of deliberately arranging newly formed ideas, images, or concepts of external objects not present to the senses with creativity and resourcefulness in a way that appeals to the senses or emotions. To me, that sounds like imagining wisely. Sounds like deliberately using your imagination and arranging your thoughts, arranging your mental pictures, arranging your perceptions, arranging your concepts, arranging your beliefs about yourself in a way so that they are aligned using the principles of creativity and resourcefulness. They are aligned in a way that appeals to your senses or emotions. As someone said in the collaborative chat here, they talked about beauty. They said, let's see what they said here. Expressions of feeling, emotions, thoughts, desires, dreams, and beauty. Yes. So the art of imagination is another way of saying the wise use of imagination. It's using imagination to create beauty with intention and knowing that that's exactly what you're doing. So I gave that quote earlier, and I want to dive into it in more depth here. The quote is, let me read it so I make sure I say it exactly right here. Flair is what distinguishes artistry from mere competence. Theoretically, every human being on planet Earth is competent in the use of imagination. Competent, meaning that we all imagine and our reality happens. So it's working, guys. It's working. We imagine that we're having our experience and we have our experience. It's working. Now, the difference between competency, meaning that we're able to do it, we're proficient at it, and artistry is in part intent. Flair, right? So what is flair? I would say that flair, one, is confidence, because it's an understanding of what the process is. It's not just playing the piano mechanically, it's playing it with feeling, right? With expression, with flair. It's not just saying, oh, I'm a creative person and my creative faculty operates on default, so I'm just going to allow it to operate on default and take my hands off the wheel. No, it's saying I understand what my creative power is, I respect my creative power, and I use it intentionally with flair, with confidence, with expression, with also with honor and respect, because I understand the power of the tool that I'm using. Flair is what distinguishes artistry from mere competence. Now, I also wanted to point out the deliberate nature of this. It specifically says in our new definition of the art of imagination, it says the process of deliberately arranging ideas, images, or concepts. So again, I don't want to just gloss over that. That's a crucial part, is being deliberate about it. It's choosing to imagine wisely. It's choosing the thoughts that you entertain. It's choosing the seeds that are planted in your garden deliberately. It's taking pride in the way that your garden grows because you did it with intention. It's not just a backyard that's been neglected. No, this is your masterpiece. This is your masterpiece. Your imagination can be your masterpiece. You can take pride in the wise and beautiful imaginings of your mind. It can be part of your core artistic expression, your core creative expression. Is there anything more beautiful than making your art your lifestyle one of art? Artistic life, literally making the way you live your life an expression of your art, an expression of your creative power, an expression of your beautiful imagination. Flair is what distinguishes artistry from mere competence. So I am curious. I'm going to ask another question in the chat, not in the chat, in the Google Doc here. What are some examples of artistry and imagination? Again, remembering our definition here, everything that we've said about the definition so far, and then also the newly formed definition where it says the art of imagination is the process of deliberately arranging with creativity and resourcefulness in a way that appeals to the senses or emotions. What are some examples of artistry in imagination? And we're down on page 2, towards the end here. Examples of artistry and imagination. 1, being deliberate about it. Yes, definitely. Being deliberate about it, consciously choosing. Yes. Consciously choosing and fully understanding the consequences of your choice. Yes, I feel like artistry and imagination takes into consideration the consequences because it is imagining from the end. When you imagine from the end, you do take into consideration the consequences, because that's literally where you go straight to the consequences. I choose to imagine wisely about something because I choose the consequences. Another answer of what is an example of artistry and imagination is the ability to connect with a power not commonly accessed by mankind. Yes. We all use it, but how intentionally and deliberately do we use it? Another answer, artistry and imagination is consciously creating circumstances. And I love that one. Consciously creating circumstances. Knowing what you're doing the whole time. Love it. Yes. Yes. Okay. Those are some great answers. I'm going to give a little different answer. I would say that a joke can be an example of artistry and imagination. And I want you to think about that. A joke can be an example of artistry and imagination. The reason that I say that is because a joke can be an arrangement of stimuli, meaning a word picture or a certain way of saying something that triggers one's imagination commonly to see a something in particular and a specific way. And that combination of seeing something in your mind's eye being provoked by the joke and seeing it from the perspective conveyed from the joke, or noticing your own reaction to it, which is kind of a common reaction to it, and that being a source of humor, something funny, right? Your reaction being laughter, or your reaction being amusement, humor. So I would say that a joke could be an example of artistry and imagination because of what a joke isn't a thing. It doesn't actually exist, but it creates something up here that we react to, that we respond to. So a joke is another example of artistry and imagination, a little bit different from the other examples, but it's a different way of looking at the same thing. I'm going to say kind of, someone said consciously creating circumstances, and I agree with that. I'm just going to say it another way. I'm going to say cleverly cleverly imagining outcomes. Someone else also said a fairy tale. Fairy tale is also an excellent example of artistry and imagination. Makes your mind run with the stimulus. And you can create pictures can be created in the mind's eye through artistry and imagination. And one has to use that artistry in their own imagination to give that experience to another. So I'm going to say cleverly imagining outcomes. It's another way of saying consciously creating circumstances. I'm also going to say designing experiences can be an example of artistry and imagination. Designing experiences. So if you think about the Walt Disney resorts, if you've ever been to Disney World or a similar theme park, and you think about how the entire place, the entire physical installation is designed to create an experience for each person that visits the theme park or visits the resort. Disneyland, Disney World, and you walk in there and you're completely immersed in this experience. And I would say that's another example of artistry and imagination, because it's one thing to create a whole bunch of objects, and it's something else to deliberately arrange them in a way that provokes a specific experience. In the case of Disneyland and Disney World, I would say the primary experience that it's intended to provoke is joy. Another example of artistry and imagination is using our imagination to open our windows of wonder. Yes, that's the other word I would use for Disney World, Disneyland. They're trying to evoke the experience of joy and wonder, amazement. You know, those precious emotions and experiences that we love to witness our children having in particular. We have them too, but we love to see other people have the experiences of joy, awe, and wonderment, particularly children, right? The magic. We love to witness that. It's an example of artistry and imagination. Okay. So if we have now a fundamental understanding, we know what our imagination is. We know it's a faculty. It's the mind's eye. It's something that can create ideas, images, or external objects. If we have an understanding of what our imagination is, we have an understanding of what art is, we have an understanding of what the art of imagination is, and we see this opportunity to deliberately arrange things in a way that is pleasing to the senses. How do we know what to imagine? How do we know what to imagine? If we're going to be artists, if we're going to be artists in imagination, if we're going to be the author of our experience of our reality, how do we know what to imagine? How do we know what to write? How do we know? How do we know how to use our imagination to create beautifully? How do we know? And I would say that this is where the discussion quickly becomes similar to philosophy, right? Because really what you value is going to guide what you choose to imagine when you're imagining deliberately. Because once you make that choice, I'm going to be an intentional creator. I am going to deliberately use my imagination artfully, with artistry, with flair, with intentionality. Once you deliberately choose that, you're saying, okay, I'm going to take power over my creative faculty and I'm going to choose what to imagine. The next question is, all right, what is that going to be? And the minute that you decide to do this with your eyes wide open, wide awake, and you're really taking your experience and saying, okay, what's going on here and what do I want to choose? The immediate question is, well, what do I value? What are my principles? What are my guideposts that I'm going to use to anchor myself in wise imagination? The concept of values. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about values, but I'm going to put in the next question in the Google Doc. The next question is, what are values? Describe in your own words. So please type your answers now, and I'm going to continue to talk a little bit more about values. So values are directly related to the way that you think. And the way that you think is directly related to your values. Now, when you're not aware of the creative power of your imagination, you are not an artist in your imagination. You are merely demonstrating competency because it just works all the time on its own, rather than artistry, meaning that you're doing it deliberately and consciously. When you're not aware of any of this, you may not be aware of how intimately your thinking is linked to your values and your values are linked to your thinking. You may not be aware of that. But the moment that you do become aware, the first question is, what do I stand for? Because if I'm going to imagine outcomes, if I'm going to wisely and proactively imagine specific outcomes, cleverly imagine outcomes, cleverly and consciously create circumstances, then I need to have something that is my blueprint. What do I believe in to create these circumstances around? If I can literally imagine anything, what am I going to choose to imagine? So this makes me think, when I think about, okay, values and how values are kind of like the principles for behavior, I think about things like organizations and how organizations will oftentimes publish a code of conduct or like an ethical handbook or something along those lines. And it's like, it's this formal structure that was created by the people who had the vision for how they want their organization to think, how they want their organization, what they want which values they want their organization to be aligned with, and how they want those values to be expressed. And the idea is that these big corporations, organizations, whatever they are, they don't necessarily trust every ordinary Joe to see things the same way as they do all the time. And that's why they write it down. They write down proactively, these are the things that we value. And so when you are interacting with the public on behalf of this organization, on behalf of this corporation, whatever it is, when you're interacting with the public on behalf of this, you need to do it from this perspective, from these values. These are our guiding principles. And these are organizations from small to huge, to nations. Nations are founded upon organizing principles, upon specific values. Entire cultures, entire societies are built upon specific values. And everything that you imagine yourself to be is in some way, depending on how conscious you are of it, it is in some way related to your values. What you will become in this life is going to be a mirrored image in some way of your values. So what are values? Describe in your own words. I have a couple answers here. One is your truth or truths. Another answer, ideas you hold to be true. Things you are passionate about. Your belief system. Another answer, values equals valuables, something important. something of value, something loved, something I believe in. What I choose to imagine begins deep in my DNA and stems from love. Thoughts become things. So do our values. I love that. Thoughts become things, so do our values. Yes. So the dictionary definition of values is a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. One's judgment of what is important in life. Thoughts become things, so our values become our reality, is the full answer from earlier. Yes. Okay, so the dictionary definition is standards or principles of behavior, and I'm going to apply this in this conversation to values are the principles or standards by which you imagine. Meaning that if you're ever in a situation where you're uncertain what to imagine, by being clear on what you value, that is your reference point. That is your blueprint. It is the framework upon which all of your imaginations, whether you're cleverly imagining an outcome, whether you're imagining a conversation with yourself pushed out, whether you're imagining an expansion for yourself or for someone else, someone around you, someone you love, whatever it is, they're guided by these principles. They're guided by your values of what is important to you in terms of the principles of the wise use of your imagination. So we're going to do one more group response here. And then we're going to do a group exercise. I'll give you your assignment for the week. And we'll be wrapping up for the night. Okay. So in the Google document, I said, describe your values. And I'm just going to ask you to make this really, really short, and you can just go line by line if you like. Just some things that you feel are root fundamental values that that are unequivocal in some way, like just the root fundamental things that no matter what, I believe in such and such. Let the answers come in here. You can also write it, I value, and then write whatever it is that you're declaring that you value. Guys, this is a lot of fun. Thank you very much for doing this with me tonight. I'm really enjoying watching the sharing here happening, and I hope that those of you that are able to see it are too. Like I said, in the future, some upgrades coming. I'll be able to share my screen so that if you're on mobile, you have a similar experience. But I think this is a pretty fun way to do it. It won't be like this all the time. Some classes will be taught using this format. Others will be more of a lecture. We're going to keep it fresh, but I like this because I feel it is engaging, and I love hearing from you all, your perspectives. So that's awesome. Okay, so a couple that have come in. Describe your values. One person says, things I feel that align with the greatest good of all. Yes. I value communication. I value functionality. I value ease and grace. I value flow. I value love. I value kindness. I value family. I value love. I value relationships. I value sincerity. I value learning to love myself. I value honesty. I value balance. I value abundance. I value beauty. I value awareness. I value connections with others. Yes. I'm going to add a couple that I've come up with as well. I value life and that which is life affirming. I value beauty. I value compassion. I value wisdom. I value health, humility. I value expression. I value honor. I value generosity. Beautiful. Okay. I value laughter. Yes. Awesome, you guys. Okay. So, the invitation tonight, my invitation for you tonight is for you to take a couple of minutes, and we're going to do it here on the live stream together. I want you to take a couple of minutes and I want you to write down wherever you are, whether you're watching on mobile or on computer, whatever it is, maybe open a separate thing, maybe sheet of paper, something. But this is something you're going to want to do. If this conversation is resonating with you on any level, you're going to want to do this. This is very, I feel this is important. I invite you, I'm going to read off several of these things again as we go, and I invite you to write down the ones that resonate with you. Write down the values that resonate with you. You should be able to feel them in some way. When you hear them or when you think of them, if you feel them in some way, I invite you to write them down. So we're gonna start there. So I'm gonna give you just a second here to get a way to write things down. You're going to be using these later. I'm having you write them down specifically on purpose. We're going to use this as part of our assignment for this week. I'm going to read a list of these. And as I go, I invite you to write down the ones that really land with you. However many, but I would say 5 or 6 would be a great start. We'll say 4 to 6 be a great start. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to read these here. All right. So I value life. I value life and that which is life affirming. I value beauty. I value love. I value compassion. I value wisdom. I value expansion. I value expression. I value honor. I value honesty. I value balance. I value kindness. I value ease and grace. I value laughter. I value abundance. I value joy. These are your key words that I invite you to meditate on this week between now and the next live stream. And I specifically have an exercise that I'm inviting you to do. And we're going to run through a trial run of it right now in this space. It is one thing to see words on a page, just mere descriptors, and it's something entirely different, as you well know, to feel the meaning associated with those words, which are mere reference points. So tonight, given that I have just read these words to you, I'm going to give you some space. I'm going to give you 60 to 90 seconds. I'm going to invite you to look at one of the values that you have written down on the page in front of you, and thinking of it more than just the words that are there. I want you to connect deeply to the feeling. What does this value feel like? What does it feel like in my body? When I think I value love, what does that feel like in my body? Is there a feeling associated with it? Do I feel it in a specific part of my body? Does it have a sensation? Does it have other attributes? Does it have an energy to it? Does it have a color to it? This is your opportunity to build your neural pathways to your values deeply. This is all part of the process of tuning your imagination, because this is an opportunity for you to start to lay down those pathways for your values to show up more and more blatantly within your day-to-day reality. So I invite you now in this moment. We're going to do it now together, and then I'll share what the exercise is in more detail for the days of the rest of this week. So go ahead and select just one for right now, just one that jumps off the page at you. Sit up straight, open your chest. Deep inhale and exhale. And then repeat silently to yourself, I value. And just notice what you feel. Deeply connect to this feeling. You are building your reference point now. It is one thing to have words for values, and it's something further to feel deeply connected to your values. And what I invite you to do to incorporate this into your days going forward between now and the next time we are together on next Wednesday's live stream, I invite you to place these words. You can either write down literally, I value, just whatever the ones that jumped off and are on the page in front of you. I invite you to place them somewhere where you're going to see them every morning, right at the beginning of your day. And the invitation is for you to take time right at the beginning of your day, not just to glance at them and be like, oh yeah, I value compassion. Or, oh yeah, I value honor, wisdom, whatever. No. I want you to see them, and I want you to specifically take just 30 to 60 seconds of space, do the practices that we do on this live stream, take a deep breath, tune into your heart, look at the words, and feel what they mean to you. And take a moment and just radiate that, just for a moment. Take a moment to just radiate this value, flowing energy to it, honoring it, growing it, feeding this part of yourself. By undertaking this practice, by taking a moment to tune your antenna to the values that you value the most in your life each morning, you are opening up the opportunity for yourself to be drawn quite naturally to elements of your experience that are aligned with these values. So the idea is, as you choose these values to meditate on in the morning, even just for 30 to 60 seconds, just take a moment, really focus on cultivating that feeling, really aligning with what this is. That's going to reflect back to you throughout your day. And because you now have the eyes to see it, because you've literally tuned your antenna to it, you're going to see that. You're going to see evidences of honesty, evidences of beauty, evidences of life, and that is that which is life affirming, evidences of compassion, evidences of wisdom, evidence of expression, honor, generosity, and joy is going to show up in your daily experience, and you're going to be tuned to see it. And as you do, feel it, acknowledge it, honor it, feel gratitude for it. Understand that being able to feel things, is one of the most beautiful gifts that come along with this physical form, this physical body. The fact that we are a physical form that is also an emotional body, and we can feel things deeply. That is a gift. With this practice, you have the opportunity to hone and tune that gift, to gift yourself, the observer within you, beautiful, satisfying, deeply satiating experiences of that which you value the most. Put them on your bathroom mirror. Put a little note on the dashboard of your car. Just 4 or 5 items. What do you value? This is what I value. They're not just words to me. I know what they feel like. Not only do I know what they feel like, I regularly tune myself to them because they are part of what I stand for. As I use my imagination with artistry, while I practice the art of imagination, this is what I stand for. And when I choose imaginal scenes to picture in my mind's eye, I align them with these values. When I choose to imagine wisely on the behalf of a friend, and I'm like, well, I don't know what should come out of this. What do I believe in? I know what I believe in. I've spent the last week literally reminding myself every single day what I believe in. And now when something comes up, something unexpected, I'm provoked in some way and it's my time to react. I can respond from a place that is aligned with these values because it is a core part, a core principle of who I am. It's a core, I am principally aligned with the wise use of my imagination. I invite you to write these values down and re-feel them each morning. All right, I haven't been on the chat in a minute, so let me see what you guys are saying. Really appreciate this felt sense turn we are taking. Beautiful. Means dream a dream of life consciously. Fabulously said. Art is the language of your heart and soul. I see what you guys did here. You responded in the chat. I didn't even look. Love it, though. Thank you, guys. It's hard for me to see both screens at the same time. Art is creation with a message. The art of imagination is the process of deliberately arranging newly formed ideas, images, or concepts of external objects, not present to the senses, with creativity and resourcefulness in a way that appeals to the senses or emotions. Love it, you guys. Awesome. Imagination is your masterpiece. Well said, Kajal. King Solomon, welcome. I didn't even catch you. Awesome. Designing experiences. Yes. Beauty, harmony, and honesty. Yes. Hi, Adam. Awesome. Beautiful. It will reflect. Zuli, you're absolutely right. Undertaking this process absolutely will reflect in your world. Yes. Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your participation tonight. We are coming up to the end of our time together. I would like to know, though, before we sign off, for those of you, I think there was 5 people in the Google Doc, I think. Yeah, what do you guys think of this format? I really enjoyed it as a presenter, but I'm curious to know what you guys think about it. And I'll get better at it as we go here in terms of switching back and forth and all that. But I think it's fun to do this in a collaborative way. Yes, I'm getting lots of thumbs up and hearts. Awesome. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, values, my friends. Awesome. Okay. Got all the hearts coming on here. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so that's the live stream for tonight. The art of imagination. We took some time to define imagination, to define the term art, and to piece together our own interpretation of what the definition of the art of imagination is. We expanded upon that, and we came to the realization that really, if we're going to know how to use our imagination artfully, we must also become aware of what our values are, because our values determine the framework within which we imagine anything. So we took some time to illuminate our values, to write them down, and not just to put them on the page, but to feel them, to connect deeply with what they actually feel like. Understand that when we do that, when we exercise this muscle, we are making it stronger. And as we make it stronger, we are more likely to attract experiences aligned with our values into our daily reality. And because we are tuned in a way where we can see them and we can interact with them, we appreciate them as they arise, thus opening up the door for more gratitude, more appreciation, more joy, and more everything else that we really, truly value from the depth of our soul in our life. That's all for tonight, my friends. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you all next week, same time, same place. Till then, imagine wisely, my friends.